Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons open for signature. Thank you very much.
I now invite Ms. Beatrice Finn, Executive Director of ICAN, to make her remarks.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, colleagues and friends, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons has worked long and hard for this treaty to come into being. ICAN is a vibrant campaign in over 100 countries, comprised of people who act with determination, hope, and confidence. At ICAN, we knew that we would eventually get to this historic day when the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons opens for signature. And we are seeing today international law standing up against weapons of mass destruction, prohibiting the use, possession, and development of nuclear weapons. This treaty represents the determination of the survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and nuclear testing around the world. And it established a legal obligation to address the harm that these weapons cause. In many countries, the victims of nuclear weapons use or testing have struggled for the full realization of their rights. Indigenous communities, already victims of social and political marginalization, have been marginalized further still by cancers, by contamination of traditional lands. Representatives of these communities spoke during the negotiations of this treaty. Their voices were heard by the states that participated in those negotiations. And even if their own governments, in shame, ignore their voices, international law is responding to those voices in the treaty signed here today. I am very honored that we have representatives of the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki here at this ceremony today. And I know that many more who have experienced the devastating consequences of nuclear detonations are watching this ceremony from home. Thank you for the testimony you have provided, for the work that you do, and for all that you have contributed to making this treaty a reality. You ban nuclear weapons. It is a treaty that honors the struggle of victims that have died and honors the work of survivors who are struggling still. And we will continue to work together. ICAN will work with states and survivors, with international organizations and UN agencies, and with our partners across civil society to build the strength of this treaty over time. And this has not been an easy process. The treaty has been called divisive by those that still ascribe value to nuclear weapons, and many of them might try to work against this. But over time, this treaty will stand strong, because it's based on strong foundations. It is morally right, and it's coherent with the framework of international law. Important progress is rarely easy. Groundbreaking steps forward do not start with consensus agreements. There was a lot of resistance when slavery was abolished. There was plenty of opposition when women fight for the right to vote. The fights for civil rights and apartheid, for the end of apartheid, they weren't met by unanimous support by all. Progress does not just happen when everyone is ready. It must be fought for, and someone has to be brave and lead. And we are seeing that leadership here today. The states that negotiated, the states that will sign here today and over the weeks ahead, you are the states that are showing moral leadership in a time and a world that desperately needs such moral leadership today. The treaty will always be open for all states to join. States that choose to not join this treaty now will always be welcome in the future. Because today we are putting nuclear weapons in the same category as other unacceptable weapons, like the conventions prohibiting chemical and biological weapons, landmines and cluster munitions. This treaty bans an entire category of weapons. It strengthens the norm that weapons that cause unacceptable harm to civilians cannot remain legal. And today, nuclear weapons will no longer be an exception to these norms. This is what a real step looks like. And for our shared human society, this is a step for the better. Thank you.
The international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICAN, has been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2017. On behalf of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, I take great pleasure in congratulating ICAN on its award. ICAN is receiving the award for its work to draw attention to the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of any use of nuclear weapons and for its groundbreaking efforts to achieve a treaty-based prohibition of such weapons. 12 peace prizes have been awarded in whole or in part for this type of peace work. The first went to Philip Noel Baker in 1959, and the recent award to Barack Obama in 2009, and now this year to ICAN. On 2 days in August 1945, the world experienced the terrible destructive force of nuclear weapons for the first time. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki instantly killed at least 140,000 people, the vast majority of whom were civilians. Hiroshima was utterly destroyed and large sections of Nagasaki were laid in ruins. I now call upon the representatives of the Nobel Peace Prize Laureate 2017 to step forward to receive the diploma and the gold medal.
You each give me such a tremendous hope that we can and will bring the era of nuclear weapon to an end. I speak as a member of the family of Hibakusha, those of us who survived the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
My name is Nobel. Welcome to Hiroshima.
Nice to meet you. Great to be here. That's fun.
Shall we go?
Yeah, sure. I was going to visit, of course, memorial, but as well as meet, of course, him if he's available also to meet our students.
学生さん連れてきた時には後でまた話をしてください。
もちろんそれは。
He promised.
Okay.
核兵器をなくすための一つのステップにはなったと。
So I think they made for one step,
そこ
another
へ行くま
step
での過程
to
の努力
abolish
というの
nuclear
は、
weapons, but all the way leading up
これ
to.
は大きい力があったからだろうと思います。
But what have pushed them
ですがそれは
to that end
一
was
歩
a
にしか過ぎない
loss
と思います。
of effort of people.
今からこれをどう
And
いう
it's
格好
only a
で
small step to go, and
世界が受け止めるかだと思う。
how they make world to
核保有国ももちろんです。
ICAN
さらに
is
日
another
本政
thing,
府もそ
including
の
the
中にありま
nuclear
す。
weapon states, as well as Japanese governments.
ガンとして動かない日本政府をどう動かすか。
The Japanese government have never changed their opinions after that, and how do we
広
change
島市民もさることな
their
がら
mind? and it's not only
日本の
Hiroshima
国民に与
citizens,
えられ
but
た大
also
きな課題だと思います。
for Japanese people.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to send you all the best regards, especially to the young ones. And let me explain a basic message we would like to send from Hiroshima. And our message to you, to the youth, is that your future may be a difficult future, but we can't give up. That's why we need to work. We need to gather courage, and we need to work together. We need to understand each other to build a better future. And talented youth who has capacity to understand those messages from the old ones, for the victims, can be trusted. We can trust your talent, but if you can really keep in your heart those messages of victims for you to be happy, then I can trust those talented young men having those messages in your heart and work together courageously, innovatively, with sincerity to have a colorful, beautiful, diverse, but understanding future in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
私たちの行動で部下たちを主体的な水準から引き出すことができます。
Yeah.